Hey, this End of the Road Haunts, and I'm back with another Spirit Halloween 2025 idea. My third in pretty much a row, because as I've said, I'm just on a blitz. I'm trying to get them all out, and this one is one that I've had for like quite a few months actually. In fact, I tried to draw it before, but the sketch wasn't turning out too good, so I kind of canned it. But I like the concept enough that it's back. Yesterday at 1 a.m., I had motivation, so I said, screw it, put on some music, drew the sketch for it, and today I finished it up, made the audio and all. So, without further ado, let's get to it. This is Slasha. Now, kind of weird name, but it's a mix of the name Sasha and, the word slash. And she's a female clown, which is something that we don't see a lot. Yeah. And the reason I say slash is because if we zoom in on her face, you'll notice that she has these cuts across it. And sorry to spoil the animation real quick, but that's because her big gimmick is that she'd be pretty much static except for the fact that her head is in these slices. Like, she's been all slashed up and her head is just in pieces. And then it would, like, come apart, kind of, as, like, a really demented circus act. And I don't exactly remember how I thought of this concept, but I just thought, whoa, that would be really cool. And so it's what I've wanted to make for a while, but I think just with a combination of, like, the color scheme, the fact, she's a female clown, the goriness, the unique, all of it, I feel like she'd just be a really memorable, cool character for Spirit to do. I'm pretty happy with it. The drawing turned out good. Yeah, no, she'd be pretty cool. It's one I'm quite happy with. Nailed out the drawing pretty quickly, as I said. God bless the symmetry feature on Procreate. But, yeah, I guess with that, let's get to her stats. So as for Slash's height, she'd be about 5'8". Regular human woman height. Just the kind of average. I don't know. Nothing much to say for that. I can't really see a reason to make her like 10 feet tall. I don't know. That doesn't really make sense to me. And at the same time, I don't see a reason to make her really short unless she was like a little girl. But no, she'd be like a regular, young adult woman, whatever. So yeah, 5'8". Nothing much to say there. Because it's so essential to the whole, thing of the prop, I pretty much already went over the animation. But, like, as I said, her head would separate. It would be in about 5 pieces. 2 would go to the kind of left of her, 3 to the right. And it's weird to think about how the motor for this would have to work. But I don't know. That's not my job. I'm not a spirit designer. But I think it could be done realistically. And alongside that, though, I think she'd have a shaking animation in her body. Just so that way, an extra level of creepiness. Because, I don't know, shaking props are always just scary to me. Obviously, we're not talking like a twitching banshee type thrash, but more so just a, like, spasm type, like, subtly vibrating. I don't know, I just think it would add an extra layer of intensity to her animation that she'd be like, shaking during all that. Because presumably it would probably hurt a little bit, separating your head like that somehow. Plus, this isn't really an animation, and I don't know if I'd really note this with, like, on its own. But I'm picturing her arms being posable. I don't know. No reason not to. I mean, like, Silent and Deadly's pretty cheap. You can pose his arms. So, I don't know, I can picture her being more around, like, $200-ish. Maybe less. Just because she'd be fairly simple animation-wise. But I don't know, I still think she'd be a pretty interesting character, for sure. As for light features, I don't think she'd really need much, except for the fact that she'd have light-up eyes, probably. I think it would just be an extra little thing to her whole animation that would make her look even more supernatural and unsettling. As you may have seen, her eye texture is very similar to Silent and Deadly. That kind of, like, bloodshot-ish red eyes, but not red all the way through, like, kind of gets... I don't know. That's just... It's such a specific thing to like in a prop, but I find those types of eyes so cool and creepy looking. So no, I could just imagine seeing her eyes, shift in the dark as her head splits. I don't know. She's just. I feel like she'd be such a cool blend of like the uniqueness that modern spirit has with the like eeriness of a lot of old spirits. So I don't know. I'm just. I like to self glaze a lot in the Ideas series, and this is one I'm pretty proud of. Now, her audio would be nothing really to write home about, but it wouldn't be bad either. But it would be pretty simple. She'd laugh, very simple, menacing laughs. She'd have distorted carnival music that I think it would be really cool. It would kind of distort as her head, like, separates, and then as it comes back together, it would get a little more normal. I don't know. I just think that would make a pretty cool effect. I kind of tried to sync it up in the actual audio video itself. So I think that looked pretty cool. And then head sounds, which is pretty vague, but what I mean is you just hear the squelching of, like, the meat in her head coming apart, which I think would just make her just that little bit more gnarly. And I don't know, I can just imagine her being a prop that a lot of people would really find cool, including me. Because, I do like a good original clown myself sometimes. So, I guess with that, here's the audio. So, that was Slasha. Hopefully you enjoyed her audio. I thought it turned pretty well despite its simplicity. I decided to have her not talk, just because I'm not really sure how I'd get that. But I just, used some creepy laughing sound effects I found. And, well, tell me what you think of her in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you're new. That is an order. And I will see you in the next one. Farewell, where I will be making the... Where am I going with this?